Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me. We're on what's today? Tuesday, the day before the solstice. And yeah, I just feel a huge shift in energy, like a wave, like a watery wave. That's what it feels like to me. So I'm excited to see what cards we get to represent this energy that I'm feeling that might be relevant or paralleling for you. So let's see. Okay, we get the Nine of Fire, Nine of Wands. Came right out. See what we get it with. This is a card of like, okay, for me, this is like, because of this imagery, it's like you're in the tunnel, but you're coming out of the tunnel. We got this a while ago, if you've been watching these. We haven't had it in a little while though. Okay, so this very much, very much feels what the energy is like for me today. Like this is what we were talking about 2 times ago, or no, I guess it was the last time. We're in this kind of passage. There's this kind of crunch, this pressure, but here we are coming out of the cave and we have our light. So whatever we were doing in that crunch, whatever we were doing in that tunnel, it's shifted, which is exactly what I'm feeling for today. It's like there's just, it's like we're coming out, we're bringing out what we found. We're starting to bring it out though, because we're still kind of in this tunnel. So we're going to see what it comes out with. Okay. It's hot in here. It's hotter now that I'm moving and shuffling. Oh my gosh. Okay. What's coming out with the Nine of Wands? So we're coming out of that crunch, coming out of that cave, bringing out the lessons that we learned. Okay, yeah, okay. So the Five of Cups and the Eight of Earth. So, whatever, this is kind of like what we were doing in there. We were working on something. We were working on pieces that brought up perhaps some grief for us. Deep emotion, really. Swirling emotion, anguish, emotional anguish. Maybe regret, maybe loss, maybe turmoil. Let's look at this card. She's upset. She's in it too. Look, she can't get out of it. It's like all around her. It has her kind of trapped. Is there a seahorse there? Okay, there's a seahorse. So she kind of does have an ally there with her, of course, right? But yeah, she's kind of just been stuck in this shell. But there's, again, as we always talk about, there's a purpose to it. It's part of how she's mastering herself. Part of how we're, kind of earning those badges, but it's also kind of, it's all, it's funny because when we're in these places and we're crunching and we're kind of alchemizing, we're also retrieving badges already earned. These are kind of like soul stripes in a way too, things that we've attained. This could be kind of an Akashic card. That's how I'm seeing it right now. These are all the badges that we've earned throughout our lifetimes that are very much a part of our soul. And again, it's kind of like what we're retrieving. What did we retrieve in this space? We found this light. And what is this light? It's things that we've had access to in our DNA, in our soul, in our energy field, coded in our energy signature, because we've earned them. These are things we've achieved, but they can lie dormant. So there's the crunch, right? What does the crunch do? It cracks the seed. And what happens when the seed cracks? Things are discovered. These aspects of our soul. So we were talking about, we've been talking about, merging with our higher selves, with our higher aspects. And we do that through these crunches. We do that through agony sometimes, where, but it doesn't even have to be agony. It can just be something that's going on in our lives that isn't very comfortable. But we're like, okay, I know what this is. This is where I unlock my codes. This is where I retrieve access to these parts of myself. And so we kind of do this, and we have to feel what we feel. You got to feel it to clear it, but we know what's going on. So we're not necessarily drowning. There's the ally. It's like the ally is that higher consciousness that understands the way this works. And so, but what's really sticking out to me today, and I think is perhaps part of the shift that I'm feeling. It's like we were in this tunnel and we gained access to aspects of our soul that we didn't have contact with before. We might have known about them intellectually, or we might have had a sense, or a resonance with a certain thing, resonance with a certain period in history, or resonance with a certain, even just admiring it in other people. Why are we admiring it in other people? Because we have it in ourselves. Okay, so we've had some relationship to it, but now it's like we've unlocked that key. We've unlocked those codes. So let's see what trying to feel what deck I want to use. All right, let's see what comes out next and in relation to that. Oh, interesting. Okay, this is the same card we had last time. The card of moving on, the card of letting go, but it's also a card of kind of like emotional turmoil as well, because you can have some conflict about leaving, and it's like before you can really see this is kind of what was coming up last time, but it's like before you can really leave and move on, you have to kind of sort through a lot of stuff. You have to untangle some pieces. And that's what was coming up last time, where you're kind of having a conversation with your old self. But in this reading, it's that, but it's different than last time. If you watched that one, it's more just kind of like you're untangling, you're untangling, and you're assessing in a way, and you're looking at like, okay, this was relevant, this one mindset, this one course of action was relevant for that time. And you realize, like, I might still be playing out that action, but that time has expired. So the word of the day today has been, it's time to pivot. It's time to pivot, where what we were doing, and this doesn't even have to be like, old patterns or old energy. Last time is very much kind of like ego-based, linear, control stuff. This can even be a course of action that you were on, and it was very beneficial for what was happening, but the energies shifted, and so the whole playing field has shifted, and it's time to pivot and maneuver differently. I love that came out. Because that if I were to just get on here and talk about what I felt from the energies, it'd be so kind of boring, and I'd have to have like notes, but it's like the cards always, they just trigger it and it comes out, and it's so much fun. Clarifying for me too. Okay, so this is the other card that came out last time, the Four of Air, and then it comes out again with the Five of Cups. This is the same card, different deck, so we get this twice. So this is a card of healing. Last time when it came out, it was kind of a card of like pause and resting, but this time it's indicating to me that we, in this space, in this kind of turmoil, this watery space, this alchemy, not only did we access, I'm going to say it in two ways. Not only did we access these codes, these dormant codes, not only did we unlock them, but we healed. But you can say it the other way too. We unlocked these codes because we healed, because we went into this and we felt it and we sat with it. And again, it's like you have to feel it to heal it. You might have a knowing, a higher consciousness knowing of what's going on, and you know how to ride these waves, but you still have to let them pull you under. You still have to kind of crash and burn a little bit, because that's where that's how we clear, that's how we get in touch with them. We get in touch with those places within us, and again, you have to feel it. If you're not feeling it, you're not in touch with it. You have to feel it. I know we all know this, but it's just good to remind ourselves again, right? And to say it out loud and to talk about these things, to make space and time for that. But anyway, we feel them. We let the waters come. We let the waters, the waves. I used to have tsunami dreams all the time. I know a lot of us, so many people that I talked to have had tsunami dreams. It's probably like Atlantean memories, but I would always run from the tsunamis. I would run from them. And then one time it just laid down, like where the water and the sand met, and I just let the wave go over me, and it was really gentle. And then ever since that dream, I would go, when the tsunami would come, I would go into the water, and then the tsunami would never actually manifest then. Like once I was in the water, I was just playing like a mermaid or a dolphin, it was that kind of joy-filled energy. And so, regardless of what else the tsunami dreams mean, I think they mean a lot. I think they're really layered. But just the analogy for this moment here, it's like when we surrender, and now of course it's different, because it's not like when we surrender to these moments. It doesn't really feel like joy and play. It really doesn't. But just kind of the analogy of that, right? Like instead of running, right? So we surrender to that. And then we can heal because we're no longer running. You know, we're no longer running, we're allowing, we're feeling, we're healing. And when we heal and we clear the blocks, well, what are blocks? But places we don't want to look at. Places we don't want to go. Places where like, nope, not there. Not there. You're blocked because you're not letting it flow there. But when we let it flow, we feel it, we let it flow through, then we can heal. And what does healing mean? No blocks. So everything can flow. And what does that mean? These codes, this information, these parts of ourselves that we have in our energy signature because we earned them and in other times, in other ways, are able to flood in and become part of our consciousness, part of our access, part of our toolbox that we can draw on. And so in that last reading, we were really talking about the higher self and the higher aspects merging, and I feel like this is getting a little bit more detailed about, or it's fleshing out. It's becoming a little more clear. Yeah, it's becoming a little more clear. Okay, so then what does that mean? And that means that it's going to be clearer to us as well. We're going to start to identify what these are. We're going to just, we might just be having a conversation with somebody and all of a sudden we start talking about something we didn't even know we knew, or we get drawn to do something, just all of a sudden these parts of us that are now activated, not just dormant in our energy fields, but activated, start to play. They start to play in our hologram as well. And because that energy is playing, we pick up on them and then we play them out. We magnetize things in, different things, because all of a sudden there are new light bulbs on in the field. So then other people, hi Boudica, other people that have those, other people, other situations, other, opportunities, places, we start to come together. Law of attraction, right? We have this new stuff activated, and so the matches come in. All of a sudden our hologram changes. So like, pay attention. You might be seeing it already. All of a sudden there's, a new thing, a whole new thing. And okay, let's see what else. 12 minutes. Okay, that's quite a few cards. Okay. Okay, so Messenger of Water, Four of Water, and the Seven of Fire. So let me feel into this a little bit. It's very different. We have fire and water. Yeah, we have fire and water. And I was saying earlier about how this shift kind of felt like a wave, a watery wave. That's funny. And then we got the wave, and I started talking about the tsunami dream. I love higher selves. Yeah, and so anyway, here's the contrast of the water and the fire. The water and the fire. I'm trying to feel into this. It's almost like, okay, see the bubbles here? There are bubbles down here, and there's fire up here, So it's kind of like a similar configuration, but opposite. So like fire and water are opposite. That could be like the feminine and the masculine. Here's the air, here's the, well, it's not really earth, but the above, the below, right? Okay, and so then right in between is the Four of Water. So I'm trying to feel into what this is. I might pull another card and see, but just, is that on my screen? Okay, there's a splotch. Okay, anyway, the Four of Cups. Okay, so it can be, the card of like missed opportunity. Is it like that right now? No. You know what it is? Okay. So there's so this is like the card of like can't have. No, it's not the card of can't have. It's like you think you don't have something, but you do. Like you're focusing on what you lost, but meanwhile there's this whole like gorgeous pearl being offered you, but you can't see it. So what I'm seeing between these is there's like this in a sense is in the way of this. Like these two are not together. Like the fire and the water are not necessarily together. I'm not sure if that's the right wording. But they're, it's like there's something in between them, okay? So it can feel like, and maybe this is part of what was coming up in the other reading too, it feels a certain way, but it's really not that way. So it feels like these two are separate in the sense that we're either like way over in the fire or we're way over in the water. We're way over in the yin energy, we're way over in the yang energy. They're a little bit like, so like you might be so in one that you can't really feel the other, okay? So it's almost like you can't remember, when you're like so in an energy that you can't remember, or like say you're in like a really heightened space and you have a lot of like ecstasy running, you can't really remember what it's like to be in one of these. And then when you're in one of these, you can't really remember what it's like to be really exalted. It's like two different spaces. So that's kind of the feel I'm getting from this. When you're in this energy, you kind of forget about this, and vice versa. Okay, because this thing is in between, where it's like when you're here, you're like, oh, I don't have this, and when you're here, oh, I don't have this. But really, all you have to do is bridge that and consciously choose to integrate and activate both. Hold on, let me get another card. I want to see if there's another way to say that, or if there's more that wants to come out about that. Okay, the Hangman and the Three of Air. So the Hangman, we keep getting that. That's like being okay. So is this a repeat message? It's like being hung up for the heartache, being hung up for the healing. Okay. Because I was asking for clarity on this other configuration about the fire and the water and feeling that they're separate, I feel like what this message is saying is that part of what we've been hung up in, part of this is just reiterating this, part of the the kind of like deep diving that we've been doing and the things that we've been accessing. Okay, part of what we're accessing is balance. Wondering if we're going to get a balance card. But I'm seeing this as, okay, fire, water, masculine and feminine, spirit, matter, okay? So balancing of the elements, balancing of the polarities, okay? So that's what I was seeing about today. That's what I've been seeing for a while, like ever since, I don't know if you were watching these videos, but ever since I had that experience where I was like, I just had this crazy experience and I had to cut off my video halfway through because I wasn't integrated. That's when that message started coming through for me, was like how absolutely utterly important it is. I know it's obvious, but it just came through in a really visceral way. The balance of the polarities and the balance of the elements, and specifically in relation to the human body. So this is like an earth thing as well. It's like, okay, so part of what we're doing right now, this is a big message. I don't know if I'm going to be able to land this, but I think I will. Part of what we're doing right now is bringing in more of ourselves, bringing in more to be in a more elementally balanced state, because that's the nature of this planet. It's the planet of polarity, but it's also a planet of elements, of different elements, and all of them hold their different codes. And so it's like if we're unlocking our codes and we're unlocking part of our soul aspects, well, we're also unlocking, coming into a more, and if we're coming into more harmony with the earth and the oneness of all things, then that balance is naturally going to start to flesh out. So this is what I'm feeling, like the cutting edge movement in this energy right now, and we'll see how it goes. But like I feel like I'm like hot off the press, but that's what it feels like to me, because it just feels like such a thing that's been emerging. But today it really seemed to land, at least for me. And I know that there are collectives within collectives, so I know that that's relevant for other people as well. Is again it's not even like the importance of the balance, and because of course that is, but it's like that's just what's coming online. It's fleshing out, it's becoming effortless, where that is the gift of what we just did. That is the gift of the tunnel and the dive. If you've been in a little bit of a crunch, and I know a lot of people that have been, it's been like this kind of sacred passage, this sacred this sacred tunnel, this sacred tunnel, this quest, whether we identified it like that as or not, it's like that's kind of what's been going on for part of the collective, and um, maybe those of us that kind of signed up to do a bit extra, to do a bit for the collective, you go in and you go into some of those hard places that other people aren't called to do or didn't sign up to do. You go in and you retrieve some stuff. You retrieve some stuff and you pull it back out. You're in the tunnel and then you pull some stuff back out. But what are we pulling back out? We're pulling out more of ourselves. And what happens when we pull out more of ourselves? What I'm feeling, again, this newest message is sort of an emerging of the balance of the polarities and the balance of the elements that's starting to become quite effortless. But there's just so much. There's so much in that we have access to so much when we can come into that, because again, it is kind of the fabric of this realm. It's like how does energy come into matter, into form? It's like through the balance of, or how does it stay in form? How is it able to create and maneuver in form? While in form, it has to have that balance. It has to have access to all the different magical, the elements, the fire, the water, the air, the earth, the ether, has to be able to have access to all of those, which means it needs to, again, have access. It needs to understand them. It needs to have access. That's the word. That's the word. And then it can really do a lot. It can really do a lot. Okay, 21 minutes. I'm going to pull one more card. Again, but there's a little bit, this is like a new emerging thing, because right now this was kind of in between them. So, it's like, like we're, this is something that is beginning, I feel, beginning. It's beginning. It's beginning. It's the bridge. It's almost like the Four of Water is the bridge. The fours are often a card of stability. The Four of Water isn't really about stability, but because the fours are, it kind of is. It's like there's, and sometimes that's how we bring things into balance too. We go from one extreme to the other. We go so extreme that we get out of balance, and then we're like, whoa, we have a consequence from being out of balance. So then it brings us into the other way. So this, this kind of like, this is to me kind of a card of being out of balance in this moment, in this instance, because we're either way over here or way over here, like I was saying before. And so I hope this is making sense. I don't know, usually when I listen later, I'm like, oh yeah, that made sense because you're channeling. But anyway, look at her. She like, even in this light, like through the camera here, she looks so angelic. I mean, her head is fleshed out, but her body isn't fleshed out. It's like she's a guide, she's a guide. And sometimes we get guided through extremes so that we can understand. If we go the whole way into this, we understand it completely. If we go the whole way into this, we understand it completely. And it's like we've probably done that through lifetimes, it's like we probably have one lifetime where we were, whatever this represents, whatever this might represent, where we really mastered this, another one where we really mastered this, and those extremes. But it's like, this is a time where we're bringing it all together into balance. So it's like, even the extremes being, in the grand scheme of things, in the grand journey of our soul, we had some extremes, but even that was a bridge to wholeness, because we had to gather it all. We had to gather and collect all these pieces. We had to gather and collect them, and they've been waiting and waiting and waiting and gathering and gathering and gathering until there was a time where we could bring them all together, where we could bridge all the, ethereal, it's not can't have, it's that it feels far away. So in a sense, it's like, it feels like you can't have it. When you're here, you feel like you can't remember this, but it's really kind of maybe even like a calling or a longing, or like you feel it, but it's behind a veil. So there is a can't have energy, but it's just different than like can't have, because I never get anything I want. It's not that. It's like you literally can't reach it because it's been behind this veil. Okay. So, but now we are reaching this, and so it's kind of a double message. It's like, on the one hand, we're receiving these dormant codes. They're activating because we've done we've gone through this, like, whatever this crazy crunch passage was we've been in the last 2-3 weeks, maybe more, maybe less, depending on how you are and what you signed up to do and stuff like that. Okay, and ongoing. It's like we're still kind of in it, but it's like we're starting to emerge. So this is kind of like what's just starting to emerge, catching a whiff of it, right? Catching a whiff. That's why I like to do these, to be like, okay, what's the cutting edge? What's the highest potential that we can tap into right now to help us, move through faster, so we're not stuck. Like, can we see it right away and then jump into it, because we have that choice. So it's just like sniffing out the edge. That's what I think I do. And so anyway, yeah, so it's like that yeah, it's kind of okay. So anyway, the this becoming available, no longer kind of out of reach. It's starting to flesh out, but then also the unification of, and what that also means is unification of the polarities and balancing of the elements. And because unity is unity, you bringing everything together has a certain configuration to it. So that's opposites coming together, and that's all 5 elements coming together into us and into everything that we create, because then it has that God fractal, because that is the God fractal. So I'm just going to do one more summary card. Hopefully it won't be like 4 of them and then we go in a whole other direction, because I've already talked for 26 minutes. Okay. Oh, that's so cute. I thought that this was the Lovers, but it's not. It's the King of Pentacles, and I was like, oh, it kind of is reminding me of the Lovers right now, because even though it's a child and a father, it's like, it's happy. It's like, you're in the garden, but then we did get the Lovers. We got the Lovers and the Queen of Air. So the Queen of Air came up in that last reading, but in a different deck. So let me just ponder this a minute. Yeah, man, see, this is what I didn't want to happen now. It might take us in a whole other direction, but let's see if I can just get this. Okay. Oh, yeah. Well, it's really interesting because the way these two... Oh, yeah. Okay. The way these two kind of have the same greenery, they have, the 2 here, they're really happy, they're really unified. Like, these people are on the other side of something. They're absolutely on the other side of something. They've earned something. They have everything that they need. The King of Pentacles, it's like mastered on the physical plane. You just have it, but you've earned it. You've earned it, and the Lovers tells me that it's the whole reading does, but it's like in a different instance. It might just be a little bit more worldly, but this is like a spiritual having. The Lovers is the unity. That's what I was just talking about. The union of the polarities and of the elements that keeps coming up right now. And then the Queen of Swords, look, she's in between again. So that's kind of the same as what was going on before. There's kind of an in between, but this is like unity and unity, whereas before it was like, okay, the different polarities that were coming together, but these are together on either side of her. These are together. So it's kind of a similar message to last time, where like you might not quite feel like you're all together yet. You might still feel sliced. You might still feel like there's some separation. But what's funny is, it's like, what are you separate from? It's like there's unity and unity, and that again was the message last time. Like, it's like it's here. The truth of the situation is one of wholeness and unity and empowerment, but it might not quite feel that way yet. And I think that's similar. I think that's a similar message with her in the middle there. It's like, it might still feel a little bit separate, but again, it's not like this one thing separate from this different thing. It's like, these are the same, So it's just another message, and it's just getting, even a little louder of like, whatever the illusion of separation, that separation consciousness, it's like, it just doesn't have much time left, because all around is just this unity energy. It's just a matter of time until she's finally like, oh, I'm tired. I'm just going to lay my sword down and take a nap in the garden. It's a process, but it's moving along. It's moving along, and a lot of how it's moving along is just because, wow, who knew all this kind of like deep diving cave stuff all of a sudden is bearing fruits. All of a sudden all that healing is, bringing us this access that we've been longing for, that we've been feeling we didn't have access to. All of a sudden, we do, and we're going to start to see it more and more and more. And so I'm going to end there, and yeah, I hope that you enjoyed that. I hope that was clarifying or helpful, and basically what I'm saying is I hope that made sense. I'm going to go listen and see. But anyway, thank you for powwowing with me today and joining in consciousness, and peering into those edges. And I feel like I feel like when even just me talking to a camera and knowing that like a few people might see it, at this point it's like sometimes there's like not many people watching, but it doesn't matter, because it's like even just a couple of us, if we kind of get on the same brainwave and we kind of get on the same page, we're helping to anchor these energies, anchor these potentials, and draw our attention to it and bring it through. And that's my intention, is just to stretch and to stretch with others, and to land things and faster and together. So anyway, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you next time.